Everybody out there, listeners, thank you for coming back to another episode of the show. Today we got an awesome guest, PJ Hill. PJ is from
Yes.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, but he has been around the world and back. He's an ex-professional basketball player. He's now a financial advisor. He's very involved in the Minneapolis area. And he's a whole lot more than just those labels that I threw out there. But PJ, I'm grateful that you're on the show today. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you. I'm grateful to be on the show. Love everything you're doing. Listen to episodes. It's just been great. So I'm honored to be on the show.
Awesome, man. Well, before we dive too deep into your story and stuff, I'm just curious how you've been holding up during, we've been in lockdown for a long time here, obviously, and the world's gone through a lot of stuff. Obviously the killing of George Floyd happened right on our home turf, and life's been a little bit crazy. So I'm just curious how you've been doing and how you've been holding up through all these times right now.
Man, I've been hanging in there. Things have truly changed for me. I mean, my life has in the last 2 months been flipped upside down, man. I
Mm,
actually live a couple blocks from where George Floyd was killed. I go to church at that church. So that was the biggest whirlwind event for me. And then on top of that,
mm,
we have the coronavirus that's just changed the world and how our new normal will look. So it is.
yeah.
I'm good for the circumstances.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, man. It's good to hear that you're sticking in there. But yeah, it's a whole new world that we're playing in now. And so it's going to be interesting to see how we all can navigate this and find ways to keep marching forward.
True.
Cool, man. Well, let's go back. I kind of want to start, way back in the beginning of your story here, man, because I knew that originally basketball was a big part of your life. But I'm curious, just the foundation of that for you. How did you fall in love with the game of basketball? How did that become a big part of your story? And when did you know that it was maybe going to be a big part of your life?
Man, it started for me from the beginning. So just a little context. My I grew up in a family. I'm one of 8 siblings.
Mm,
So we
dang.
have a big family. Yeah. And my dad, he grew up in Detroit, then moved here when he was young. And so he didn't have his dad in his life. But basketball was the only thing he truly knew.
Mm,
So my dad taught us from a young age. He would always say like, I don't know school, I don't know nothing else. I grew up in foster care and lived house to house. The only thing that I ever had was basketball. And
mm,
so my dad taught us basketball, knowing that basketball would be that vehicle for us. Me, my little sister, she's in the WNBA. I've had a couple other sisters play college basketball. That basketball will be that vehicle that will lead us to a better life. And so
mm,
I commend him. I remember times when I was young where my dad would, miss work to take us on basketball trips. He would make big sacrifices, wouldn't pay bills. We'll come back from AAU trips and we wouldn't have lights, we wouldn't have water. And my mom never understood that. Like, why do all of this for basketball? Like, it doesn't make sense because she didn't grow up in a household like that. Either did my dad. But my dad knew and he had a vision for us. And
mm.
it actually came true. I mean, he wanted us to be able to go to college for free. And four out of my 9 or 8 siblings have done that.
Mm,
So, and with the rest going too, you know.
mm.
So that's where it started, from a very young age. I'm probably 2 or 3 years old, and my dad, all he knew was basketball, so that's what he taught us.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean to see the
Yeah.
success, see the success, right? I mean, that's something that I was a 5'9" white dude, and I had dreams of going to play in the NBA, and it doesn't always work out, but hey, I realize that all kind of teaches you stuff along the way too. But man, it's cool to
100%.
it's cool to see what you were able to do. At what point did I'm curious because you kind of mentioned your father instilled it in you. Um, and then I'm just curious, at one point did it shift and you were like, or from the beginning, was it always like, this is my dream too? Or was there a point where you hit like, late high school and you were like, I can do this. I can be a professional basketball player. I can be a collegiate athlete. Like, was there a turning point somewhere in there that you just kind of started to believe it yourself?
So yeah, man, yeah. This is how it started. My dad would make us do it. And when you do something, I believe like when you teach kids to go after some sports is like a vehicle that
Mm,
is used for a lot of things. And what it taught me is work ethic. So it gave me something to go towards. And then I just started to love basketball. So my journey is super unique. I played at Minneapolis South for 2 years, started varsity as a freshman, and they wasn't the strongest school in the conference, but we were good. Then I transferred to Minneapolis North my junior year, which was one of the powerhouses in the state,
mm,
and I played there. And when I graduated high school, I had no offers,
mm.
no Division One, like nothing. So I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like most people graduate, high school, they have already filled out applications to go to college. I didn't do none of that. Nobody in my family had went to college. Well, my mom and dad, they went to college, but they went to junior college and they never finished. My mom actually went to the Navy right out of school. So I didn't know what I was gonna do. I remember being at my uncle's house, like literally just sitting on a trampoline, talking to my mom and saying, like, what am I gonna do? And my mom was saying, just go walk on somewhere. Like, you're good enough to make it. I was always an underdog. And so I'm like, man, walk on. I know I can play Division One. I'm not gonna give up on those dreams. And I got a call from my AAU coach. His name is James Ware. Now he's coaching at Park Center High School, but he coached at the University of Minnesota, a bunch of other places. And he said, there's a school in Midland, Texas. It's a junior college, top level junior college. They have a guy there who's a sophomore who's transferring to Cincinnati to play basketball there. So they have one spot open. Would you be willing to go down there and try out? I said, yeah, I'll go down there and try out. So I flew down there, worked out with the guys, and I did absolutely unbelievable. So after the workouts and everything, the coach came to me, Coach Grant McCaslin, and he said, PJ, I'm offering you a full ride scholarship. So I'm like, cool.
Let's go.
Oh, my mom, yeah, crazy, right? So I called my mom and dad. I'm like, all right, I'm going to Midland. So now I'm this kid who goes all the way to Midland, Texas, West Texas. It's like oil fields, like really nothing. I remember the first day I got on campus and it was like, what the heck is this? And there were so many good players. I actually didn't think I could make it there. It was kids from New York, kids from Houston. And one thing you got to know about junior college is like all the really, really good kids who don't have grades, who have other life stuff holding them back. But they're like the most amazing kids. So it's like a super grind. And I didn't end up starting, played the whole season, ended up starting, and we won a national championship. Yeah. So I got a huge national championship ring. That was like the first time in like 30 years that they've won. So it was like crazy.
Dang.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Won a national championship. And after the season in the summer, there was a top 100 camp. It was a Jerry Mullins top 100 junior college player camp. Originally, I wasn't even invited. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to come back to school. I'm going to go home summer. I'm going to keep working on my game and come back and really kill it my sophomore year. But at this point, I still have no Division One offers. Like, so I didn't know. So fast forward, I go home for the summer. I'll never forget this. So my sister at the time was in high school. She was like the top 5 players in the nation. So she was
Dang.
like USA Today first team, McDonald's All-American, Gatorade Player of the Year. She was everything you could be. So I'm at her national tournament in Orlando, Florida at Whitewater Sports. And it's like midnight. And my coach calls me and said, look, PJ, a kid got sick. They got one spot left in the camp. So this is Thursday. He said, can you make it to the camp? It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I said, man, coach, is it going to be worth it? Now understand, I come from nothing, Tim. Like it's literally 12 of us living in a 3-bedroom. We don't have no money. So I'm like, is it going to be worth it, man? I got to get all the way back to Minnesota. Then I have to find a way from Minnesota to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thursday, all this same day. And he said, if you can make it, it's going to be worth it. My mom and dad gave me the money and I flew back to Minnesota. I had no way to get to Tulsa. I asked so many people for the money, but all of the people I know, they don't have money like that to be able to
Mm,
get me there. And you got to think about it, like Tulsa is not like a big destination place. So it's expensive to fly there. It's a small airport. Like, so
right,
it's expensive.
right.
And then especially trying to fly same day because the camp started Thursday night. So I asked a bunch of people, they didn't have the money. So I said, okay, I know who I can ask. And I ended up asking Troy Bell, who was like an NBA player at the time. I was working out with all these NBA players. And I said, man, look, Troy, if I can just get the money, I promise I'll pay you back. I'll work it off. You know, I got a job, a little summer job, and I'll pay you back. He gave me the money, man. And he told me, you don't have to pay me back.
Wow.
Crazy, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to pay me back. You go down there and you just play. And Troy Bell really changed my life. So I got the money. I missed all the flights. So I had to rent a car and I drove.
Oh, jeez.
You don't understand. Look, I'm a 19-year-old kid. I've never
Uh,
drove across the nation by myself. Like I drove literally from Minneapolis to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I ended up taking my cousin with me because I didn't just want to drive by myself. So I drove all throughout the night, got there the next day at 8 a.m. And I played, 3 games. Only kid in the whole camp who didn't have no jersey. I wasn't on none of the flyers or anything because I was a late ad. And there were like all of the Division Ones there. And I played amazing, bro. I played absolutely amazing. I went literally from zero to hero. Zero to hero, bro. The story is crazy.
Dude, it
So,
is crazy. I'm just like I'm getting giddy over here listening, man. Keep going.
so it's crazy. So play amazing the first day. I'm walking out of the arena to go to the dorms and literally off no sleep because I've been driving all night. I see the guy who runs the camp, Mr. Jerry Mullins, and I say, man, Mr. Mullins, I'm super grateful that you allowed me to play in this your event and that you allowed me to come late at. He said, are you the kid from Midland, from Minnesota? I said, yeah. He said, you would not believe it. I've got so many coaches calling about you. I'm like, what? Because look, up until this point, man, I have no offers, no scholarships, no interest. So he's like, yeah, a lot of big schools are interested in you. So immediate is like, I'm super happy because you work your whole life for an opportunity that you don't know if it's going to come or not.
Mm,
But I think a lot of people get discouraged along the way and they end up not working and preparing for opportunity because they can't see it in their foreseeable future.
mm,
But that's the wrong way. What happens in life is when you start off on a journey, it's beginner's luck. Everything starts to go right for you, but then you come to a point past that where everything starts to go wrong, or it's like such a long road where you
mm-hmm,
don't see success anywhere in the near future.
mm-hmm,
But you got to continue to work because this is just the route of it. It's a
mm,
part of the journey. So I worked hard for years and years and years and never once was looked at by a scout. And then I get a call in the middle of the night and then I find a way to get down there. Like, got to jump over all these hurdles. I finally get there. I play my heart out. And then I potentially have, somebody who is interested in me. Still don't know who, but I have a lot of people who don't believe in the vision like me because it's been so long.
mm.
So next day I play phenomenal, do well again. The first coach to call me was Brad Stevens. Now understand, Brad Stevens is the coach of the Boston Celtics right now,
Yep.
but it was his first year at Butler.
Oh man,
So
dude. Those are some
yeah,
good teams he had at
yeah,
Butler.
right. So he recruits me. He's like, look, PJ, I just recruited a kid named Gordy Hayward. He's committed. Now,
Oh,
at the time, I don't know Gordy.
right, right.
So it's like, you come with him, you guys can really kill it, knock it out the park. We're going to have some great teams. And I said, all right, I'm going to come on a visit next week. So got off the phone with him. Um, Next call I got was from Coach Mata, Thad Mata. He's
Mm,
like, from Ohio State. We just went to the national championship this year. Mike Conley, who now has been in the NBA almost 10 years, more than 10 years, wasn't supposed to go to the NBA, ended up playing phenomenal in the tournament. and went to the NBA. So we didn't recruit a point guard. Um, we want to offer you a full ride scholarship. Can you be here Monday for summer school? Literally, bro, my life overnight, 0 to hero. 0 to hero. I went from junior college to going to the team that just came from the national championship. I said, of course. I drove straight back to Minnesota, straight to Ohio. I didn't have none of my stuff. All my stuff is still in Texas. 0 to hero.
What'd you tell your parents? Hey, mom, dad.
Yeah, I'm going to Ohio State. Like I was telling people, bro. I was telling people that I'm going to Ohio State, and they didn't even believe me. I called my coach, and I told him I'm going to Ohio State. He's like, yeah, stop kidding me, P. And I'm like, no, I'm calling you to tell you that Coach Mana's about to call you right now. Like, yeah.
Oh, my God.
As soon as I get off the phone with you, he's going to call you. Like, people did not believe, because that's how quick success can come. That's how quick your life can change. And, you know, this podcast is all about, like, living your dream. A long time before you ever live your dream, it's going to be a lot of tireless, hard work. And you look like an overnight success. Overnight success takes years and years and years. You just don't see that other part. So, yeah, man, my life changed like that. My story is even crazier. Like, okay, so I go to Ohio State, play junior year, play behind a guy. At the end of my sophomore year, the coach who recruited me, so Coach might have never seen me play. He recruited me sight unseen, offered me a full ride, never seen me. Another coach seen me and told him that he needed me. The coach who actually recruited me ended up going to Ohio University. And so then I'm like, man, should I transfer with him? Because he had a vested interest in me and he wanted to see me be successful. So he left. Coach Amada, like, literally, like, was like, there's no spot for you here. You should transfer. And I remember being at, like, my exit meeting for that year, like, you know, you do. And just like, no, God brought me here for a reason. Like, I'm not going to leave. You can bring way more point guards, but they have to play against me. Fast forward, I work my tail off. Beginning of the next season, first 10 games of the season, I don't play a second. So I'm like, now dreams been given to me, snatched away again. Like, I'm at rock bottom. Like, I've worked my whole life for this. I get here, and now I don't even have an opportunity to play. And I'm working hard. I'm staying after. I'm so frustrated. I would sit in the arena after the meeting, after we, like, get done with our game meeting and everything. I will wait till everybody leaves. And then I would come back out and I would go shoot. And I would see the people who would clean the arena after. They will be in there while I'm shooting late at night, because I never let that discourage me. What I did, instead of getting upset, is I turned back into my passion even more. And I use that to keep working. And a lot of people, when they come to a point where life doesn't go, or the journey is not what they thought it would be, you come to a point where the test comes and you can either turn around or you can figure out a way around it. And you might jump up on a barrier, fall back down, try to go around it, figure out it's too wide to get around, try to go under, can't go under. But, you know,
yeah.
This is how it is, man. You just got to kind of figure it out. And sometimes God intervenes or things happen. The universe is going to be on your side. You just have to keep going. Like, this is just what it is. 10 games into the season, a guy who is playing, a freshman, he was a McDonald's All-American. He comes in and he says, like, man, PJ, I'm transferring. I'm like, what? Bro, you're playing. He's like, no, Coach Mata promised me that I was going to play 30 plus minutes. I'm only playing 20 something minutes. I'm leaving. So he transfers. Guess who's up next? They don't have nobody. I have to play. So now, like, here we go. First game I play, we play Iowa. I'll never forget this. I won the game for us, was player of the game and everything. Went from 0 to hero again. Now, bro, I'm starting, playing every minute of all the games. Like, life is back good. Like, literally. Coach Mata come and hug me. I'm like fan favorite, everything.
Dude.
Crazy, crazy, right? Fast forward. So Evan Turner is my best friend playing on the team at the time. You know, he's 6'9". He's playing the 3 position. I'm playing the point guard. Everything is going amazing. We lose in a triple overtime game in the NCAA tournament. Crazy game. Like it's the game that they play on most memorable moments. One shining moment. They always show clips from that. Okay. So then I'm like going into my senior, like, okay, of course I'm gonna play. I just came off starting the second half of the season, playing amazing. I get to my senior season, bro. I don't play at all. Back to like nothing. It was like the hardest time of my life because like I got my dream snatched from me, then ended up working hard, got back on top, and then like the last opportunity I have to like show the professional scouts, I don't even play. Evan in the middle of the season broke his back. Crazy. Went for a dunk, broke his back. So then he breaks his back. I get in there. I play amazing again. Starting everything. Evan comes back, right back to the bench. So nothing. So I graduated early from school with a degree in economics. So right after the season was done, because we was on trimesters, I just left, man. I was so mad and frustrated. I had 2-bedroom, 2-level apartment. I left everything, all the furniture, all the TVs. I just grabbed my clothes and I just got in my car and I drove back home. And I said, I'm done. I'm never going back to Ohio State. How they did me, I was so mad. When I came back home, man, like now crazy plot twist. During that senior season in the NCAA tournament, I got a message on Facebook like, sorry, PJ, I never told you, but you got a 2-year-old daughter. Crazy. Like, bro, really like shocked my world. I had like, man, I was so shocked that I like slammed that computer, unplugged it, plugged it back in, turned it back on, logged back in. Like, is this message fake? It's real, bro. So I graduate, go back home like Superman. Now I'm like working to play into the NBA Summer League. Like now I thinking about like, all right, I gotta go to Texas and figure out about my daughter. So like I messed with her mom a couple times, but it was just like a fad thing. She played at New Mexico. She was from that town. I was in Midland, and so I never talked to her after I left. She went her way, I went my way. So I go back down. I get my daughter. Understand, bro? I've had my daughter since then. My daughter hasn't seen her mom in 10 years. Her mom ran off after that. So I've been a single dad now this whole time. So now understand this. Just graduated from college, trying to work out for the NBA draft, trying to go overseas, play professional, have a daughter, and my whole world is upside down. I'm not like working a job. Nothing, you know? That year was crazy. So I ended up going to Vegas for the NBA Summer League. The agent I had was from overseas. I never knew nothing about this. I thought I was going to be playing with the Warriors, ended up only being able to work out, not being able to play in the games. And if I never get an opportunity to play in the games, then I have no chance to prove myself. When you're in them polos and khaki, you don't get to play. But I was working out, doing all of that stuff. So never got an opportunity to play. All the contracts that I thought was going to happen for overseas went away because I never played in any of the games. And so now I'm like, what to do now? My dream is literally like gone. I have no way to follow my dreams. I am at home. I have a degree. I have a daughter. I can't go live with my mom and dad because there's 10 and 11 people living there. I'm living with my grandma. I'm living with my friends. Everywhere I'm going, I'm bringing my daughter. Her mom is ran off, not answering the phone. Bro, I was working construction. I was going to work out at this gym. I was doing so much like odd-end jobs, valeting cars. Now understand, it's super humbling when I just came from the biggest university in the nation, flying private everywhere, like being on ESPN, like every game, to now I am literally taking the bus places. I am literally like valeting cars and people are like, are you PJ Hill? What are you doing here? Like, it's like super embarrassing and super humbling. I'm doing construction on jobs with guys who like, man, I used to watch you. What are you doing here doing construction? And I have to explain my story over and over and over. It's very humbling. At the time, I was working out at this gym, 43 Hoops. And I was working out there with a bunch of other pros. And one day a guy didn't show up to do a session. Like, you know, they train kids there. And I've never worked, trained kids or any of that. So the guy who owned the gym, Chris Carr, asked me, can you hop in and do a session? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I've never really worked with kids, but it's easy, you know? Ended up training a kid and a group of kids and being phenomenal at it. So they asked me next week, can you do it again? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it again, then do it again. To the point where I started working full time there, like just training kids, but all the while grinding. So that was the summer. Summer ends, and now I get to like the fall. No contracts, nothing. But when you're training kids at 43 Hoops, you can only train kids for 3 hours after school. So I'm literally making like $300 a week training kids, like nothing. How am I supposed to survive? I ended up moving in with the old girlfriend of mine that I had from high school. So me, my daughter, her sister, and her girlfriend in a 2-bedroom. So it's like 5 of us in a little 2-bedroom. Like, bro, literally 1,000 square feet. 3 of us staying in one room. I had nothing, bro. I went to like all the way to bottom. I would walk from 43 Hoops in St. Louis Park all the way to Minneapolis to my house. Super embarrassed. So I would stay super late till everybody left. And I would grab my daughter and I would walk all the way home because I had to sell my car to survive. I literally had nothing. But all the while, I never gave up on my dream. I would go to 43 Hoops early in the morning. I would ask the guy, Tom Schuster and Chris Carr, who own it, can I get in early so I can work out? They obviously wanted to save on money, so they didn't turn on the heat. I would be in there with like hat on, full like jogging suit, working on my game. People come in like, dang, what is he doing?
Some Rocky type stuff right
Bro,
there.
whatever you got to do to make it, you know? I did that for a whole year. Fast forward. So Chris Carr would train NBA players, guys getting ready for the draft. Fast forward, it was a kid who came into the gym. He had a bunch of scouts with him and everything. He had played at Wisconsin, so I knew him. And a bunch of scouts, all of these people with him. And I seen all these people working here, and I asked, like, man, can I hop in this workout? Now, understand, I've been working out for a whole year, so I'm like super ready. He's getting ready for the draft. I hop in the workout. I do unbelievable because I'm hungry, man. I'm hungry for my opportunity. Like, and I had a guy agent come up to me and was like, look, if I don't know who is who, I'll say you're Jordan Taylor. I'm like, nah, man, I'm PJ Hill. I just work here, you know? He's like, you're too good to be here. What are you doing? If I can get you an opportunity to play professional, would you go? And I said, of course. Like, that's what I'm working towards. So exchanged numbers with the agent, didn't hear from him for a couple of months. He called me in the middle of that summer. So now, middle of the summer, and he's like, I got you a job to go play in Latvia. You leave in 2 days. Bro, I packed up my stuff. Literally 2 days.
Dude,
like,
your life is crazy, man.
my life is, bro, it's never been it's the longest route ever. Boom, got the call, went over there. The rest is history, bro. I played almost a decade overseas. Like, went there, won at
Let's
Latvia,
go.
you know, All-Star game MVP, played in Greece, Latvia, China, Russia, Finland, like all over, man. So God has like truly blessed me, man. But
man.
It was a lot, bro. It was a lot. And, you know,
Yeah.
my story even gets more crazy. Like, okay, I went to play in China, made the most money I ever made. So I'm like, man, I'm about to be good. Then after that, I played in Russia, having the best season I ever had, like about to be to the point where I don't have to worry no more, man. Like, I'm going to be good to where I can transition to something else in life. Last game of the season, I tear my Achilles. Oh, so it's like, I was so mad. It's like, dang, here we go again. I've worked so hard for all of this. And now I tear my Achilles, like, after I'm having the best season I've ever had, playing in one of the best leagues in Europe. And it's like, damn, I can't catch a break. So all the while I'm still training kids at 43 Hoops. I've worked my way up. Now I'm the head trainer. So like I create all the programs. I do everything. So I go back home. I'm training kids, but now like I'm on like a scooter training kids, but like really thinking about my life. Like, what am I gonna do? Like I can get better and I can go play. I'm still young, but damn, man, I lost all of the contracts that I had because nobody wants to take a guy with a torn Achilles. I had to wait at least a year. I'm not going to be ready. So I'm training these kids, and most of these kids I train at 43 Hoops are wealthy kids. So kids who have gyms in their homes, kids who live in Eden Prairie, Edina, very Wayzata. I usually deal with the moms and the nannies. I deal with the dad at the very beginning, but the dad is usually out working, so you don't really see them much after that. It was one dad. He was coming every time in the summer, whether it's 10 a.m., 1 p.m., didn't matter what time it was. He always showed up for his son's session. And he was like super actively involved. So after summers of seeing this from him, like that summer when I was hurt, I asked him, one day, like, man, what do you do that affords you all of this freedom to be able to come watch your kid in the middle of the day? You're like the only dad who's always here. He said, man, I'm the vice president of investments at Wells Fargo Advisors. So I said, dang, I'm looking for somebody to help me manage my money. I got to get more serious. Up until this point, I never thought about my money. I've always been good at budgeting, but I never invested maybe a little bit, but didn't have nobody to really teach me and really be my primary financial advisor. So he said, let's set up a meeting. So I set up a meeting with him. He's working downtown IDS, way on the top floors. So I walk in, it's all this mahogany wood in his office, and I'm like, oh shit. I don't have tens of millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a multi-millionaire. I think I'm in over my head a little bit, I got, a couple 100,000. I'm just doing all right for myself, in investable assets. So I get into the meeting when we're like in this long, conference room. You can see the whole city. It's glass windows from floor to ceiling. You can see the whole city. And he says, PJ, before we talk about your money, I want to ask you, what do you want to do, after basketball? And I said, man, that's a great question. I never really thought about it. I don't know, maybe take over this gym, 43 Hoops. I'm unsure. And he says, in this business of finance, I never talk about religion and I don't talk about politics because it's people on both sides of the fence. So you have to be very, very neutral. And I said, yeah. He said, 2 weeks ago, I was watching the US Open and they started talking about athletes going broke from bad advisors in their life and just from lack of experience. And he said, I literally heard a voice in my ear, PJ, that told me to make you a multi-millionaire and offer you a job and mentor you and sponsor you and to do everything to make you double what I am and then pass you my book of business. He said, so if I can offer you a job paying you X for the first couple of years, and then when you'll be my junior partner, then we'll be equal partners, and then you'll take over my position, my business one day, would you be interested? He said, I'll mentor you the whole way. I'll do everything. He said, I've been watching you for 2 years and how you interact with people. You have everything to be awesome in this business because this is a relationship business. This is a business about charisma. This is a business about trust. Like you have all of those things. He said, the numbers and stuff, I can teach you that. That's easy. And he was like, would you be interested? I said, yeah. Like, yeah. So this is what I did, bro. I walked out of that meeting, like going in there to get my money managed and walked out basically with a job offer. My promise to him was I had to pass all of these crazy tests, the Series 7, the 63, the 65, the insurance. So what I did, bro, I went and played one more year professional, but the whole time I self-studied. Crazy story about my self-studying. The first time I took a practice exam for the Series 7, I got a 43. I literally called my wife. I was like, there's no fucking way I can make it in this business. I'm not going to be able to pass this test. It's a 7-hour test. there's only two tests harder than that to become a lawyer, and I forgot what other tests they told me, but them are the only, the bar exam and one other exam. Them are the only tests that are harder than these tests. So I said, there's no way I can make it. So this guy, Jeff Dodd, he's trained all of these people to pass the Series 7 and everything. So I ended up taking his class. It's like a couple week class, and you go there and it's like from 9 to 5 every day, 6 days a week. I took it one time. I ended up asking him, can I take it again? I took it 3 times, bro. So at the end, Jeff comes up to me and says, PJ, man, you are like working crazy hard, developed a relationship with this guy. And I said, man, I just gotta like push, and I really want to pass this test. And I said, Jeff, man, what's the most practice exams you ever seen anybody take? Understand, the practice exams are 3.5 hours. He said the most I've seen anybody take was 18 practice exams. And they passed the test with flying colors. He said, why are you asking? How many practice exams have you taken? And I was like super embarrassed, bro, because I'm like, damn, I'm like, am I over the top? I said, I've taken 63 practice exams. Bro, I took 63 practice exams at 3.5 hours. I worked this hard because look, I told him, I said, Jeff, man, I have a family. I got 8 brothers and sisters. I got a daughter who, you know, whose mom has ran off. I got a newly fiance. I have nothing to go back to. I don't have nothing. I have to make it in this. I said, I can't leave it to chance. I took all of them exams, bro. I passed my Series 7, 63, 65, all on the first take. All on the first take. But that's hard work, man. That's been the story of my life. I don't have a gift of talent. I don't have the gift of being better or the privilege to come from a crazy wealthy family with connections. My gift is literally people and hard work. That's it.
Man, your story is going to impact so many people listening to this, dude, because it's so, I've just been taking this all in, man. It's so real, you know? Like you think about the success cycle of life, and people assume that things are just going to happen, or when I graduate, this will happen. But the reality is that there's this upswing and there's a big downswing, and there's an upswing and there's a big downswing. And what you have to be able to do, which your story is just like beautifully portrays this, is when the downs come, are you going to quit or are you going to keep going? That's like literally, I remember Jay-Z's like big quote, like the genius thing we did was we didn't quit. Like it's so huge. And like you said early on too, like I think even the very beginning of your story of like, I didn't have any offers, but I kept working. And then I didn't have this, but I kept working. I didn't get invited to this camp, but then this happened. And then I got there and then this happened. And then this, and it's like, that is how it works. Like that is life. And when I always think about like the dream, like I think we are sold, you know, we are sold outcomes, right? Like go to school, there's an outcome, get this job, get this amount of money, retire so you can, you know, live happily or whatever. But the reality is it's the process, right? It is like, it is that journey. It is that like how, cause you loved basketball and you knew that. And you were like, I am going to see this through until like there is no more possible way to see it through. And I think that mentality, right? That Mamba mentality, like, I think that carries over. Cause I mean, I know we have such different stories, but you know, like I said, like seriously, I was the kid in high school who AU was shooting hoops 4 hours a day. I was lifting, I was doing everything I was supposed to do. And I did everything I possibly could to play basketball. And I finished, you know, my high school career. And like, I wasn't made to play basketball. But you know what? Like the outcome didn't happen, but I was happy with the process. I did it. You know, I did the process. And then what happened, just like how you found this new thing, is it opened my mind to say, okay, wow, I learned all this stuff. Like what's next? Like, what am I made to do next? And it just, and so I think if you can adopt that Mamba mentality and that mindset of like, I'm going to go after this until it doesn't make any sense anymore, until I'm 40 years old and can't put up a shot anymore, then I'll find the next thing. Like, it's such a powerful way to approach life. And man, I just commend you for going through those lows, and saying, look, I'm not going to stop because this is where my heart is. This is what I want to be doing. And I think it's just such a powerful message for so many people out there who want to do big things with their life, to say, hey, look, you're not going to graduate and be 21 years old and just have life be like this. I'm walking through flowers and
Oh, it's never like that, man. It's like they always say it's who you become in the process is which is most important. And I always tell people what success is. It's a bunch of failures that lead you to a place. So you fail your way to success. That's exactly what you do. That's what practice is. It's like controlled failure. You figure out like what works, what doesn't work, and you just keep trying. And life, what it's meant to do is test you. Because how do you know if you really want it if you're not tested? How do we know we got faith until you have to use it? That's what life does. And what it's done, what basketball has done for me, I always say, I didn't make it to the NBA, but I played professional. But what it did is it built character. It taught me how to deal with people. It brought me all around the world. And now I come to this job, and now, okay, transition to the George Floyd thing. People are reaching out to me like, man, what are we going to do? Like, we need to do something. My buddy Royce Wright reaches out and says like, man, we should do a march for, just us athletes to use our platform to speak out. I said, I'm with it. He said, PJ, I really need you because you are able to relate to people and you can articulate what they feel into words. And so people can understand. So we go on this march thinking it's just going to be 40 of us athletes. Turns out to be 15,000 people. I get up and speak a couple times. And now I'm the face of the movement. It's not because I wanted to, but all of this stuff that I went through in life has prepared me to be able to deal with people, to be able to inspire, to be able to relate, to be able to say, I hear you and I'm going to fight for you. And I'll be able to stick up because I know what it's like to be in a marathon. I've ran that. So I use that blueprint and just apply it to this.
It's so powerful, man. I want to talk about, that march and all those things that we're doing too, but just one more comment on
Go ahead.
What you said is, and you mentioned this like way, way early on too. But basically what, the idea that like all these little failures and all these little things, like it's all just teaching you something. It's all just building you. Okay, here I learned patience. Here I learned humility. Here I learned, like you said, the humbling moment when you were working valet and construction, or this failure taught, and it's all building you up and it's all pushing you somewhere. And the question is, and you said this when you were talking about your early days at, I think it was Midland, which was, why is this not happening? Why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting playing time? Or why are people not recognizing me? But the reality is, it isn't about that. There's probably a reason. If this podcast isn't being listened to by everyone in the world, it's probably because it doesn't deserve to be listened by everyone in the world. So what can I do to be better? What can I do to step up and to deserve that? To deserve someone like PJ Hill saying, yo, man, I listened to this, or I see what you're doing. I respect that. Like, that's not on you. That's on me. I need to earn that. And so I think having that mentality and having that idea that all these failures and all these things, it's just about, I'm going to take this and I'm going to be better. I'm going to take this and I'm going to be better. And like you said, now here you are. And for listeners out there, like I was in the crowd at the Celebration for Life was the one I saw you at for George Floyd. We were at US Bank Stadium and I saw you up there, and instantly, like you said, I could feel an energy. I was like, man, I got to reach out to this guy because and that's all of your life and all of my life coming to a moment where we're saying, here we are, here's where we're going to connect. And I think it's so cool. And so it being someone who, like you said, you teamed up with Royce White and a bunch of other athletes, in those moments, in those marches, what were you feeling from that crowd? I felt a lot of energy from that crowd. I felt a lot of positivity, obviously a lot of pain, a lot of emotion. What was your mindset like when those marches were happening, and just really right after the whole, the killing happened? what was going through your head thinking about this happening right on our home turf, and just the things that you were going through and feeling as this was all going down?
So I'll take you along the journey. I remember, so I told you my uncle's church and the church that I attend, my great uncle's church is right there on 38th Chicago. So my uncle and my mom actually witnessed murder. They seen it to later figure out that it was George Floyd and all that, but they were coming out of church that Monday evening. I
Mm,
seen it Tuesday morning on social media. And the first thing is like, you go through super mad, like, okay, another black man killed by the police. It just once again proves that these things have been happening, but now they're getting caught on tape. But you're like just so mad because you look at the face of Chauvin, he's not even flinching. He's not flinching. Like he doesn't, he's not even, thinking I'm killing a man and there's people watching. So you're mad and then you're sad. And then you go through this of like, kind of scared for your kids, my brothers and sisters, of how they're gonna grow up in America and when will this ever change? It's been hundreds of years. So then you go to the march, and then in the march, what you see is the best of humanity after coming from the worst of humanity. You
mm,
see people, no matter what color you are, black, white, you know, Asian, Hispanic, Native American, we're all coming together as one. And you start to say, this generation, this time, we got hope. Okay, we all stood on the backs of the greatest generation who broke a lot of barriers, who made a lot of sacrifices for us. But they've passed the ball to us. Now it's our turn to take it. It's our generation's legacy to really move the ball forward and kick it the fuck out the park and
mm.
make profound change. And I
Yeah.
think young people with social media, your community is not just the box you're in. You look at the world as your community. And you're not
Mm,
looking so much as color, you're looking at it's just us. And
mm.
that's what you see in the marches.
Yeah.
That's what it was missing from the older generation because there's so much separateness. The young people are truly together. And technology has done that for us. And just the integration of everything that's happening with the United States and it being such a mecca that people want to come to. So that's what I felt. I seen the best of humanity. When that truck, excuse me, when that truck came through on the 35W bridge when I was out there in the front, it didn't matter what color you were. You were trying to save people. Like I was literally grabbing people and throwing them over on the other side of the bridge because it was absolutely crazy. I didn't care if you were white, black, man, woman, uh, LBGT or not. It didn't matter. I'm going to help you get out of here. And a lot of people were running away. I was running toward the truck because this is what I do. Like, if I'm going to lead these people, what happens is in times of adversities, people's gifts rise to the occasion. And that is just my gift to lead and help people. And that's what you've seen. So that's what I felt. And I seen the best of humanity. And that's why, now I'm getting into activism. I'm not a formal activist. I'm a member of this community. I'm a leader. I'm a person who's passionate about people. I can lead and inspire and encourage people to fight in a way that we can make profound change. Now I see looting has its place. It brings attention. Though I don't agree with that, I understand it.
Mm.
But now as we move forward, how do we move forward from that?
Yeah.
How do we make real change? How do we get people registered to vote? How do we get people to understand the importance of not just the big elections, but the local elections? To get people to understand them things that are not taught in school, because I was never taught about voting.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Or really any of
Or
it.
anything,
Yeah. I mean,
personal finance. I was never taught how to live my dream. I was never taught that happiness is not tied to a job. It's not tied to
mm,
things. It's tied to
mm,
living, doing what you want. So I tell people the true test, there's four types of wealth. There's financial wealth, there's social wealth, which is fame, There is time wealth, which is freedom of time. And then there's physical health, which is your health. There's physical wealth, which is your health. You always got to be weary of one and two, things that give you one and two, money and fame, but they take away from your time and they take away from your health. So true wealth consists of all four. Really, you want the freedom to be able to do what you want when you want. That's true wealth.
Mm.
It's not just money. Because I know a lot of people who are super wealthy, but they're strapped to their jobs.
Right.
They can't leave.
Right.
I can do what I want when I want. That is true wealth. That's what we want.
Yeah. And that's what, yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, all this stuff. And, for me, like, just to give you a perspective into my world, I feel like, growing up, I grew up in the church. I went on mission trips and we'd go to Nashville, Denver, Chicago. And what that was for me, and I didn't really realize it, is I was associating all these problems and stuff with places other than my own home, right? You
Right.
come back to Minnesota. I grew up in a great suburb, went to Maple Grove High School, had a good family. And so here I am in my little bubble, like, oh, Minnesota is this perfect place. We don't have any issues here, right? And I don't know why it took me till I was 23 years old to realize this, but now this happens and I'm seeing all this stuff and I'm like, man, it would be a lot cooler going back, 15 years, like growing up, like let's learn about the problems in our own communities. Let's get involved in our own communities. Let's volunteer. And everyone on planet Earth is searching for a sense of purpose and meaning, right? Go outside. There's a million issues in the world, right? And so it's like, how do we start to tap into that more? Because as I started to see this, and, at first there's this emotional reaction, this emotional wave from everybody. And then that emotional wave starts to die down. And it's like, okay, what now? Like it's been what? How long has it been? 2 months now, maybe?
2 months. Yeah.
So it's like, what now? What do I do now? How do I use my gifts, my skills, my certain things? And how do I make it not about me? How do I go to people like PJ, who are leaders in the community, who actually are Black and have actually been through this stuff, and say, hey, man, like, how can I help be a part of this? How can I help serve? Is it voting? Is it reading more? Is it education? Is it, just like that guy saw something in you, if you're putting yourself out there, maybe somebody sees something in you and says, hey, I think you could be good in this role. I think you should help out in this way. And so my mindset now is really trying to think, okay, the emotions are died down. If I wanted to, I could remove myself from it at this point. I could, like a lot of white people have that privilege to remove themselves from it. How do we not do that? How do we stay the course and keep going? It's like, that's what I'm trying to think about is like, what now? How do we sustain this? And how do we keep pushing the ball forward, all of us collectively together?
Right. And I think that starts with like you said, just having those sometimes tougher conversation and keep talking about it like what you're doing right now. Because it's a lot of times like I may not be able to talk to your group of friends or your family or get to people that I can share my story and say like, this is real life. That could be my neck. That could be Jamar's neck that they're standing on. Right. But because you have the privilege of being able to know us and be your friend, what do they say? The world moves amongst friends. So then you're able to go back to your community, your neighborhood, your family, and keep that conversation going. And that's one thing that we can do. And then when you see those people with them beliefs that are hindering all of us as humanity, then you say something, you address that. And I've had people, reach out and call me and say like, I had no idea my grandparents were this racist and all of this. I mean, stuff comes out when you start talking about stuff, but you can't hate them people. You have to love them. You have to hear them out. And then you have to be that example. And you have to keep coming, even though they may hate you. Like the story of the guy who turned all of them Klansmen. I can't think of it right now, but he called the Grand Master. They hated him. He built a relationship with that guy. And eventually he's seeing that like Black people are not so bad. Turned Him as a Klansman was his best friend, then turned a bunch of Klansmen. But
Mm,
that's what it takes. It doesn't take hate. You can't fight
mm,
hate with hate. You have to overcome it with love, with
mm.
positivity. And you constantly be that example. You constantly be that. And then people say, damn, he's not too bad after all. Yeah.
Man, it's so powerful to hear you say that because I've just been again, I observe. I think that's what I do. I observe things, and I actually was just kind of studying the work of this very Brene Brown. I don't know if you know who that is,
Of
but
course
she's
I know Brene Brown.
okay.
She's amazing.
Yeah, amazing, right? And so this book was called Braving the Wilderness. And as I'm reading this book, I'm like, it's like she knew. It's like she knew where we'd be in 2020 because she's like, everybody is choosing a side and isolating themselves, far left, far right,
Mm-hmm.
this and that. And what people thought would happen is that we would find this sense of belonging with your own little crew as like-minded ideas, and
Mm-hmm.
the world would be this big happy place. In reality, people have never felt more isolated. Loneliness has never been a bigger issue in the world, and the amount of hate that stems from one group to the other is almost unfathomable. It's insane. If you believe this, you're just a terrible person. And so I love how you say that because I keep hearing these generalized statements on social media, and I'm like, this can't be the way to go about it because that
No.
dude over there who believes this thing, if I attack him with hate, then what's that going to do besides have him attack me back with hate? What's
Right.
that going to do? And so how do I bring in with love? How do I sit there and listen to someone who just believes the stuff that I totally don't believe in and be able to be in that conversation, let my own ego go and sit there and say, okay, I know his take. I know my take. He feels listened to. He feels heard. She feels heard. Now how do we make change from a place of here we are, where do we got to go, and how can I like this story you have the Klansman, how can I now begin to say, hey man, do you realize that we are all actually the same? Like, do you have, do you real and you just
Facts.
start to get those things in their head. And so that's what I'm trying to do, and I try to be very cautious of the things that I spew out of my mouth, because I know if I say something that's super hate driven and someone's around who hears that, their instant reaction is going to be to snap back. And so I really am trying to be mindful of approaching these conversations with a level of just intention, a very high level of
Right.
intention.
For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, and you can tell, like you you look at just the methods. Malcolm X was phenomenal. I love him, and he
Mm,
had a great way to be able to speak. But you see so many more. You see any statues of Malcolm X? So many people resonate more with Martin Luther King because it's not hate that can drive out hate. It's only love, bro, and it's only understanding of people, and then it's only being bigger. And they say, how long, I get black people who say to me, how long do we got to be the bigger person? I said, 7 times 7, just like Jesus said. Anytime he slaps you, you forgive your neighbor 7 times 7, seven
mm,
times 77. Doesn't matter. You got your own, standard for yourself. I'm not basing on what he does. If I have chose to be the bigger person, if I believe that I'm gonna live a life, where I'm gonna encourage people, inspire, where I'm gonna be a light, a beacon of hope, I am not going to lower myself and my standard just because of somebody else's actions. That doesn't make it okay. But a
mm,
lot of people say, well, they treated us like this for so many years, we got the right. We may do, but just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean it's okay. Just because the law says it's okay to do these things, like back in the day for oppressed people, that doesn't mean it's right.
yeah.
You have to find that moral compass in yourself, and then you go after that.
Mm,
And that has to be the standard for
yeah. It's so powerful, man. And honestly, your story embodies what you just said, right?
you.
How
Yeah,
how long is it gonna take? Hey, as long as it takes.
right.
As long as it takes. And it's funny too, because in sports, right? In sports, there's usually eventually some sort of deadline. Like what? Vince Carter made it like 21 years, and now it's like,
Yeah,
all right, bro, like I can't move my body anymore. Like in sports, there's some sort of deadline, but in life, really there isn't.
It's an endless runway.
It's an endless runway. If you're passionate about, social justice, you can commit the next 80 years of your life or however long you're blessed to be on this earth towards that mission, towards that cause. And if you don't get it done, then the next generation is probably going to get it done. And you got to believe and have faith in the fact that that is the general trend of humanity. We do all we can in our generation, and then we pass it on to the next and say, all right, you're up. Let's go.
You got it. Yeah. And I think we live in the problem with society right now. It is, and I tell people this about building wealth, but this goes to anything in life. Building wealth or success is crock pot. It's like cooking in a crock pot, slow, simmer, long. It's not microwave, man. You can't just put it in there and it just, boom, the food is done. It's crock pot. So instant gratification is what everybody wants, but that's not how the world works. You talk about overnight success. No, it's 20 years before you see these people. But what you see, the success comes to the light, but it's a lot behind them. That's anything. Racism has been embedded into a lot of people for so many years. It takes time to grow a mighty oak, or it takes time to cut it down. So that goes to anything in life. If you're chasing a dream, if you're trying to change something, it takes time. It's crack pot, not microwave.
Not the microwave.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. I love that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal that from you once or twice. Oh, man. Well, I feel like everyone kind of asked this question, but, what are some things on your mind of things that people should be doing or thinking about right now as this, continues to persist? Obviously, the election's coming up. What are some things on your mind? People have probably asked you, hey, man, PJ, what should I do? What has been your general pieces of advice when people are asking you that question?
Like I said, okay, keep the conversation going, keep being woke, and change your moral compass. And don't be okay if you see something wrong or you see something wrong be happening. Speak out against them informal policies. It's okay to stand up for what's right. I think we all got to do that. And I say, like, this is like my favorite line, my call to action for everybody. Just do the next right thing. So whatever that may be. In your heart, what's the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. If that's speaking out for somebody, if that's like how my boss has done me, my big boss from Wells Fargo, Chris Murphy, I know he's not going to be on the line. He's an old white man. But what he's done has encouraged me and given me a platform, even at my job, to be able to go do this. So that's the next right thing. So
that's amazing.
I encourage everybody to just do the next right thing.
Man, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting a little over on time here, but I want to ask you a closing question because I asked everybody this on my podcast. So the podcast is called Dreamology, right? And I made that word as like the study of, how to make our dreams a reality. And more importantly, right, like the modern day American dream. Like this whole American dream idea kind of kept popping into my head because I'm like, okay, I feel like I kind of grew up, and a lot of people grew up with the American dream, but there's still a lot of stuff going on here. And so I decided to go to my friend Google and just type in, like, what is the definition of the American dream? And so I'm going to read it to you because I think it's really interesting. And then I want to ask you a follow-up question because of it. So the definition, the OG definition of the American dream is, the American dream is the belief that anyone, regardless of where they were born or what class they were born into, can attain their own version of success. And now I feel like in our systems, we are kind of taught that the American dream is this is it. This is the package. When in reality, in the definition, it says your own version. The American dream is yours. It is whatever you want it to be. And so I'm curious, PJ, when you think about your definition of success, how do you define that for yourself?
I am a success. When you're looking at the American dream, I came from nothing and I've lived, my dream. Now, my dream for my whole goal in life is to inspire, encourage, and help people to reach their dreams. So I'm similar to you.
Mm.
That's what I want to do. I want to teach people about God so they can go to heaven, save their soul, and then inspire people to live their dreams. I know the blueprint.
Mm.
I know it's not easy. So I'm trying to encourage people to do that. That is my whole goal in life. Anybody can be successful. Everybody is successful at what they want. My mom, she doesn't want to do anything but be a mother. So she is successful because she's doing what she loves.
Mm.
So that definition of success has to be you are going towards what you want,
Mm.
working towards what you love.
Mm.
Don't let it be somebody else's.